Is this recording?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. We got is my office too cluttered? People tend to ask me, hey, Jimmy, do you like hats? And I answer, you bet I do. Hey, everybody, welcome to the second ever episode of The Sales Stage. I'm one of your hosts, Jimmy, and we've got Reva with us as well. Reva, what are we going to be discussing on today's episode?
We are talking about prospecting this episode. So Jimmy is going to quickly take us through some feedback from last week's episode from the fans. We're going to talk about texting and prospecting, should you do it, and some tactical tips on what our team has been doing these past 6 months to get through prospecting and keep seeing success there. So we're covering a lot, and we're looking forward to it.
We are looking forward to it. All things outbound. We'll see you when you watch it. Oh, we're selling all the products and we're telling prospects what we got. Yeah, we're selling. The next phase, we'll use lots of buzzwords. It's the next big craze. Jimmy and Reva show, welcome to the sales stage. Sales stage.
So last week, 2 weeks ago, I think, we had our first ever episode of Sales Stage.
The inaugural episode.
And after looking through the analytics, we had tens of viewers on that first episode. So
let's not underplay it though. That it went
tens of tens.
For us who are in our for one of us who are in our mid to late 30s, that's viral for me. That is, we've reached the Everest. I don't know if there's anywhere else to go but down from here.
So it was good. And if you didn't get a chance to watch it, if you have like an unusual interest in getting to know Jimmy or Reva, I would say watch it, because 60% of the episode is us introducing ourselves. And otherwise, if you're a sales leader or a sales rep and you're interested in an account-based marketing strategy, or maybe your company's going to start one soon, talked a little bit about what we learned, because we're launching ours like right now. So we talked about that. So if you're interested in that, check out our first episode.
We're getting a ton of requests from other folks in the sales arena and the sales ecosystem on topics that they want covered. I've got some reviews here. Here's one quote. I mean, this one really got me tugged on the old heartstrings. This vodcast is just the shot of life I needed.
Amazing.
That's got to make you feel good. I can't wait to tune in 3 weeks to see if this has been canceled.
That's a little rude or
empathetic, very thoughtful. They're thinking about us. This was all sorts of something. When one listener / viewer said, please stay with the allotment of the proper allotment of time I set for you. I set aside 8 minutes and I had to edit 56 minutes worth of your rambling. Oh, sorry. That was just some feedback from Charlie, the producer.
He had words.
I'm still very positive though. Do the math, Carrie. I think, we're 7 times over the limit that we had last time. So we should probably get into it. But for those of you tuning in, I'm Jimmy. This is Reva. This is the sales stage, and we're excited to get underway. What topic are we discussing today, Reva?
Well, we're going to get into like outbound and prospecting. That's the topic. It's been a hot topic the last 6 months. But before we get into it, let's do a segment.
Hot transfer. No, sorry, we'll get to hot transfer.
We'll get to hot transfer. You're a little hot on the hot transfer. We're going to do deal review. So tell us what this
Charlie, insert deal review.
Deal review.
Like, sick logo. Yeah, we don't have that.
Deal review. Yet. We've never done it before. The viewers want to know.
Every rep loves a deal review. Who doesn't? Who doesn't like getting into the war room, going through every single piece, but these are a little bit lighter and a little bit more fun. And these are kind of like little topics of discussion. So the deal review is, what is the deal with texting in prospecting?
So this week we're talking about texting and prospecting. I will give you my take. I have not heard of texting in prospecting. I'll say no. I hate notifications. I'm like a no notification type person. And I also really like having a boundary between my work and personal life. So like with Gmail, for instance, I can have, my Gmail, my personal one, and then my work one. I don't need to see one if I'm on vacation, for instance. But text messaging, like I could be texting my mom and then I've got like a prospecting text. I don't want that. I hate that idea. But I am a pro, like I say yes for texting in a deal cycle. If you have that understanding, because that has come in handy in some deal cycles.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if texting and prospecting is the thing. I think it's more like at scale, not like individual. But I think you're right. Like the B2C type thing, I think it's super, super useful. Even though, it's not necessarily coming from a single individual, although maybe it is. I don't know. Who knows? But I think I'm on the same. I think it really depends on the relationship and what's been discussed prior to that. So
yeah,
I know from
the
AE side,
like if I haven't given you the okay to text me, which you definitely haven't in a cold prospecting scenario, I'm not going to be thrilled if you get my phone number and text me.
I remember, and this was kind of like, this doesn't have to do with text, but I'm kind of on the same side of that. But I'll tell you a quick story, because the first, when I moved in, when I came on board with Vidyard a decade ago, maybe half a decade ago, the first outbound call I ever made, I won't say who it was to. Mm-hmm. I called super jazzed up, high octane sales to get it, and it ended up being her cell phone number.
I remember this story.
Yeah, I was not thrilled that old Jimmy gave her a call on the old cell phone there. So that was a great start to my sales career at Vidyard. Worked out really well.
You're a commercial and enterprise sales manager, so I guess that was the right move.
Trials and tribulations. That being said, let's get into this, and that was a nice segue into all things outbound. So let's get our outbound on and talk, because I think for the tens of potentially 100 plus people viewing, which is only going to get bigger, I have to assume. The last 6 months has been unique, to say the least, mm-hmm. right? For you and your team, what's changed, and what are things that are different, and what's working. Let's kind of dive into that piece and see what we can find.
Yeah, for sure. So I think like it's been beating with a dead horse a bit, like COVID, what do we do during this time? But what I have found really helpful are like any type of thought leadership that's really tactical in nature. So I'll keep it tactical. Things that you could actually do like right after listening to this. But 3 things that changed for the BDR team at Vidyard. Number 1 was we got really into team-led training. So it kind of like, it hit 2 birds with 1 stone, where we wanted to have more reasons to talk to each other and like feel connected. But we also were kind of like, what do we do right now? What's the right thing to do? So people would take turns watching a recording of a webinar. John Barrow has been doing a lot of webinars during this that have been really helpful. Sales Hacker. And they would watch the webinar, and then we would have like a coffee chat one morning, and they would just share their what they took away from the webinar with the rest of the team. We just like discuss it. Do we think that's a good idea, or do we want to try it in our outreach? So I really liked that, because there were so many webinars I wanted to jump on like during all of this, but I don't have time to just sit on like webinars all day, but they seem like really good content. So we did learn a lot from those kind of lunch and learn or coffee chat sessions with the team. Another thing we changed was like we were always going for the meeting. I think a lot of sales team were like they're trained that way, get that meeting, but like read the room. It wasn't the right time, so we switched. It was a Gong article actually on like the best CTA to have. So we switched from do you have time Thursday at 10 for 15 minutes to more of a would you be interested in learning more about how video could help your sales team close more deals, something like that. And then the third change we made was sort of video related, where our team, like the first email you get from our team, it has a video in there. It's a personal video to you. But we were finding, I think it was HubSpot that put out a study on this, like during COVID, email volumes like through the roof right now, but email open is like plummeting. That rate's plummeting. So like you're just getting bombarded with emails, or your buyers are, but like they're not opening them. So it was brought up by the team actually of like, why would we be making all these videos when our open rates are down? So we switched to like a text-based email. And then if you open our email or if you engage with us in some way, then we make you a personal video. So those are like some changes that have come out in the last 6 months. That was a ramble.
Oh, I think it's all good tips, and probably something worth reviewing if kind of that's the case, right? But I think like for when I look at it, and I know we kind of talked through like different stages. In the first part was everyone's kind of in a holding pattern while the dust settles, and I think we're still kind of in the second stage where it's like just understanding boundaries, right? And I know we talked about this briefly, but being in most people working from home means most of the time their work number is forwarded to their cell phone, and what we've got to be cognizant of is both you and I being parents is at any point, right? Like I could be dealing with a 4-year-old's tantrum, and really the last thing I need in that moment is Jimmy, give me a quick call on my cell phone again, to walk me through a sweet elevator pitch value statement or whatever it's going to be.
Unless
right?
he's offering like a 30-minute Zoom babysitting session for your 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Then I'm interested.
I don't even know how that would work, but I'm interested to see. But that being said, so like the phone is certainly like a hot topic right now, because you've got to understand the boundaries. I'd love to understand from your point of view too, do you have any stats that you can share with our viewers slash listeners slash whatever we can reel in here, just on the phone being like a topic of discussion?
Yeah. It was a big topic of discussion with our team. Like some people were all about it, and they said they were getting more connects. They were like figuring out strategic times to call people. And we had this hunch that like people were on Zoom calls all the time. So maybe they are like putting themselves on mute and stepping away and taking a phone call. Whereas before you might've been like in-person meetings. And so you're not going to step out of an office in your office. But then other people on the team said they were just like, could not get in touch with prospects. So I think on the whole, what we saw was our connect rate went down from like about 3%. It decreased. Like I did some analysis of pre-COVID, like 3 months pre and then 3 months during, and our connect rates went down 3%. But during this time, I also connected with a lot more BDR managers, like leaders of outbound teams, just to find out like, where are you winning right now? What are you doing? And some people I spoke to said that like calling was it for them. They were all of a sudden connecting way more. But other leaders I spoke to said that their team was struggling with the same thing. Like they weren't making connects on the phone.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. It's like, depending on the vertical you're in, the persona that you're going after, how those rates vary, which personas do seem to be answering the phone. There would be lots of data to cut through there.
Totally. Like if you're selling to sales, COVID's nothing new. They were having their phone number, like their phones are their cell phones, whether you're inbound, whether you're a field rep or an inside sales rep. But maybe if you're selling to some persona that has recently had to move away from having a desk line and set up their personal phone with forwarding, I don't know how that impacts your call rates.
Hey, quite frankly, neither do I.
No.
Neither do I. I guess one other thing is like, is there anything that you've uncovered maybe with those conversations with other BDR managers or your team too, that's been like unique
Yeah.
in a sense?
Yeah, that's something I love about the outbound team at Vidyard is they are always game to try something new and thinking out of the box. So a couple things. One is, a few people on the team said, like maybe our cadences are a bit stale, like a bit like there could be some life in them aside from the videos we send them. So we like that day incorporated some fun gifs, and they even started using those gifs on LinkedIn, and the response rates when we started using gifs, like it just escalated so much, whether it was yes or no, like people were just like laughing at the gifs. So we chose like some fun dog gifs and baby gifs, just like easygoing things. But that's something fun that we were like, let's have some fun and include those. Something else that the team started using was like this technology that they use with Vidyard. It's called Snap Camera. I haven't used it, but the cool kids on my team are using it. And
This hip.
the hip kids, maybe Charlie can include some examples right here.
I can see him. He's like, yeah, maybe on your 5th episode, we'll get some graphics in there, guys. Just
we're doing basic editing on these videos. Yeah. But yeah, like a couple reps, they would, like Rory in particular, who's now on your team, he would get images of himself where the video looked like he was sitting in the lobby of the company. So like he prospected Grubhub, for instance, and he got a image of like, it's like he's sitting in their lobby, which I thought was just a funny thing, because especially
just all alone. All alone twiddling his thumbs.
So yeah, I love that. Some of his videos, like he had Vidyard, like the Vidyard logo on the back. Someone else on the team like read on someone's LinkedIn that they really love cheeseburgers, like they're like cheeseburger aficionados. So she had like an image of a cheeseburger she was holding. So it's just like funny things like that that make your videos a bit more interesting to look at. That was something else that came out during COVID. Cool.
Love it. I think that's one nice thing that is that, like, I think, everyone kind of working remote allows, it almost allows them to add more personality, right? To keep themselves occupied and keep yourself sane, right? I think it's tough because you're not feeding off of the energy of everyone else at the desks making calls. And so you've got to like, give yourself, like one of our viewers said, a shot of life, right? Just to get things through. And I mean, if it makes you smile, it's obviously going to be worth it, right? So
totally, yeah. And I would totally smile if someone sent me a video and they were sitting in like the Vidyard baller room or something. I'd be like, that's really funny. I don't know if I should have said that we have a room called the baller room. Charlie edited that out. But on that note, your team, the sales team, like the actual closing end-to-end like closing team, you have been doing like really well over the past 2 quarters in self-generated pipeline, like the AEs actually going out and finding business. Do you want to talk a little bit about how your team has seen success with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly our team, because I think our team that we have right now is an awesome team, very, very hardworking, and super focused on the end goal, which is ultimately Vidyard being the best at what we do. But I think there's a couple of other factors in there as well. So you've got the work ethic and wanting to do it. About 2 years ago, we kind of shifted our focus based on the maturity of our company and the base that we had that was growing, to really focus on that kind of that customer first. So not just like the pre-sales, understanding what your customer is trying to accomplish. And then once they are a customer, there was kind of a shift where it's like, let's lower the entry or the barrier for entry, and not go for the full deal right away. Let's get them in leveraging our platform. And I think it's like, a confidence thing with our platform being, works extremely well, right? And does what we've been saying it does.
Mm-hmm.
So a combo of that and kind of switching over to making sure, one, that the customers are leveraging what they've got, and kind of changing that mindset to an adoption piece, because with adoption comes natural growth.
Yeah.
And making sure that they're successful. And then with that, you're really invested in the conversations that you're having, as well as the customers being invested in the conversations that you have. So I think there's a trust thing. We've been working with you now for 2-3 years, and then naturally we're seeing growth within our base because customers are really leveraging the platform that they've or the investment they've made with us. So that's a big part. Again, and then the whole product-led growth strategy that we've implemented, right, which again focuses around usage and adoption of our free product. And it's a much easier conversation. Like, I remember back when we started, it was, trying to sell the idea of leveraging video within marketing, then marketing and sales. Whereas now, naturally, it's the conversation is how do I become best in class at doing this, right? And I think those conversations are a lot different. And the relationships that most reps have made over the past 2-3 years are now coming to fruition, now that this is kind of catapulting into something that most sales reps prefer to use over just standard text-based emails, right? So I guess it's kind of a cop-out answer, but there's a bunch of different, I think, elements that have all kind of worked together to allow us to do that self-gen pipeline, right? And again, most of it revolves around making sure our base is covered off and they're leveraging our platform and leveraging it well.
Yeah, for sure. I could see that, just becoming that trusted resource, having a vested interest in your customer success. And then the free tool definitely helps with just allowing people to get some value out of it without really investing too much. And that makes sense.
Total sense.
As a buyer, as a manager, like, what are some things that you like, or when you look at prospecting, what are some tactics you like, and what are some things you hate?
I'm unfair to ask this because I'm very easygoing. So like, part of what I like is like the expectation setting. So, a big thing that our team works on is setting expectations, whether it's for a meeting, whether, if I'm sending you a meeting request without an agenda in there, like what is the point of sending that over? Like, everyone is busy. You need to check that agenda to understand what it is, whether it's an hour before, a day before, you need to be able to come back to something like that. So it's expectation setting. I prefer, reps when, they're upfront with me about what's going to happen. So it's like, hey, Jimmy, I wanted to send you this quick, video, or this quick white paper on XYZ. The reason why I wanted to send it is, here's your role, here's the company that you're with, here's how it fits together, and here's maybe some proof. Over the next, let's call it 2-3 weeks, I'm going to send you a couple of other things, with the hopes that you're going to at some point be in a little bit more invested into learning a little bit more, right? And that's like, for me as in the sales, like, I know it's kind of a game. Like, I want to give you something, so because I want to get that meeting, I want to meet with you, right? And so it's like, it's offering that up, saying like, here's how we're gonna do this dance, and at some point I want you to be able to want to lead the dance with me. So that's kind of what I'd be looking for. Things that don't work, it's kind of like, I think of one of them, maybe the last one, we kind of talked about hashtagging startup life and hashtagging things in there. There's been a couple that I've got where it's like, I won't mention the company's name, but I literally have no idea what the webinar is about, why it's about. There's just like a bunch of hashtags and like, it's your last chance to sign up for it, but it's like, I don't even know what this is. There's nothing in here that tells me what it is. So getting those. The other thing, and again, like, I'll never knock reps for prospecting, because it's something that, if you believe in your product, is really truly there to help people. There's a lot of merit that goes into that. I had a couple, as if someone that you manage like leaves, you kind of absorb their email for a period of time, to make sure that any customer requests that come in, like, they're routed properly and just don't go into a black hole. I had one where there was 2 reps that were on it, and it was like, hey, my EA's trying to schedule time with you. I thought maybe I would give it a try. I'm like, what? Why on earth? Like, this person hasn't worked here for 2 years. Why do you have your EA trying to book a meeting with them?
Like,
Like,
do
just
your
look on
research.
LinkedIn. Yeah, look on LinkedIn super quick and just be like, oh, this
They're not
individual's
here.
not with the company anymore. Um, so things like that. I find things that are like very templated, unless it's truly in something that we're looking at, an active project or a gap that we're seeing right now that we need to be solved.
Yeah.
It's difficult. I'm a lot more easygoing, so I would prefer like 2 sentences wanted to be my friend or something like that, where I'm like, oh, this is nice, right? And then if it is obviously something that we're looking to do as a company. Um, so that's kind of like my big piece is just expectation setting, letting you know how it's going to go, what you want the end result to be.
Yeah.
And let's see if I can get on board with that is really how I would approach it.
Yeah, I like that. That's important because that reminds, like, sometimes in a BDR role, especially, you might be junior. This might be your like first job, for instance, at a school, and sometimes we can get in our head about like, oh, but I don't want them to know that I'm trying to do X. It's like, just strip all that away. Like, you do want them to know, and we even do that on discovery calls, right? Like, expectation setting up front. At the end, we're gonna decide if we want to move forward together, and you can say yes or you can say no. But it's like, then you take that question out of their head. Where it's the same in prospecting, like even a cold call, you want to let them know what you're asking for, so that they know, like, okay, I like 2 minutes and then I can get off this call, versus them thinking like, how do I get off this call as you're trying to pitch them. So I like that.
Yeah.
Like, just tell them what you want.
Yeah, let's not beat around the bush. Like, it is what it is. Tell me a funny joke or something.
Yeah.
You know,
Hey,
hopefully, like
that. You
now
did
with all our huge viewership, right? I'm going to get prospected. And I gotta take the meeting with you, I guess. So no, I think it's good. And prospecting, the ones that I typically respond most to is ones where it's like, I know I'm dealing with a person, and this isn't necessarily, unless it's very well written, it's not like super templated, like
Yeah.
boom, boom, 3 main points, bam,
Yeah.
right? And so like I like that, and really the main part of it is helping educate, to know what it is, because I think even when your team's going out, like there's lots of companies that we really actually like are helping do certain things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like just trying to convey that message across. And I think the easiest way to do that is let them kind of consume it in their own time, and at least know that you're a product and you have a solution, so that if that does come up, like, you want them to be your company name to be the first thing that they think of, like, hey, I've got this, maybe check this out, because it may not be for me specifically, it could be for RevOps, it could be for somewhere else. So
Yeah, but at least you're
that's
thinking about it when you get into those, cross-functional meetings. I think like the
yeah.
only meeting I took over COVID, from a prospecting email, he mentioned a company like Patient Pop, which I follow their VP of Inside Sales, Kevin Dorsey, and I really like his content. And so I would be extremely interested in what he's doing, or if you're working with his team, like, I definitely want to know more. So maybe that sales rep saw that I was liking content on LinkedIn and used that to know, like, what customer am I going to mention to Reva? Oh, she seems to be liking this guy's thought leadership. I'm going to mention that we work with him, because I don't know if someone mentioned like, we work with your competitors. I like it, but I also don't. I almost feel like thought leadership is more important. Like, who do I look up to, and who would I want to do what they're doing?
Yeah. And to be honest, I think that's just it, right? It's like, I'm not a huge fan of like, I'm working with your competitors doing this. I think naturally what people crave is, knowing how other people are being successful in doing something, right?
Yeah.
From our prospects to customers, it's like, who's best in class? Like, what are they doing that's doing, like, giving us these results? And how can we start to replicate that process, or inject that into what we're currently doing to make it that much better,
Yeah.
um, right? Versus
Your competitors. I
the
think like
other
most times
piece,
you're
right?
like, I don't want to do what my competitor is doing.
Yeah.
I almost think it's like industry is a better like area to go into. Like, we have experience in your industry, and then like choose those best in class people in the industry. But you don't want to do like, I don't know, my personal opinion is you don't want to list all their competitors, because then it's like,
well, the thing is like the first thing that you think about, right, is going to be, oh, competitor XYZ probably just got a very similar note saying figure out what we're doing type thing. So
right.
I don't know. I think that's the fine line that you walk. And again, to some industries, maybe that's super important.
Right. Yeah. But
I think we kind of discussed a few pieces about what's hot right now. I think like something that I've really enjoyed is kind of like those, we used to call them Webatizers, which is like kind of like an appetizer, but it's like a very short webinar,
yes, or a
right? That is like,
Webanine.
what is that?
A Webanine. We used to call them Webanines too, like 9-minute webinars.
Oh, now that is marketing 101. I like that.
They
But
drive
yeah,
our
like,
thinking.
yeah, the those ones that are like very very specific to something that's like a quick hit, which is again like around those tips, I think, which is drive from that, the hunger that people have to understand how other people are doing something maybe more successfully than they are, and it's like how do I get there? So
Mm-hmm.
I've really liked those sales acceleration tools right now. um, we've got some great partnerships with some sales acceleration companies, and I've got to think, with a lot of field reps not being able to do the job that they were doing, like this is a great way to like hone in messaging and really, get people to rally around some standardized messaging versus everyone kind of going ad hoc, that type of stuff. And the
Yeah.
other thing I want to bring up too was like the importance, and I think you're probably seeing it too with like CRM hygiene, right? And like I think the big difference is now that like you're not talking to people and passing the hall, it's very difficult to have those one-off conversations. So you're going into the source of truth, which is the CRM,
Yeah.
and making sure that those things are filled out. Like the key pieces, like someone from marketing wants to understand, what brought this or what was discussed, or why they purchased a product, or what's kind of the next phase of the rollout going to look like, where's like the future opportunity with them, who was the economic buyer, those types of things, which if those things aren't accurate, sales stages aren't filled out properly, like that type of thing is very difficult, because everyone's now got to do the bulk of decision making based on data, and like that's the source of data. So I guess it's not really what's hot. It's like Salesforce hygiene or
It's not.
CRM hygiene's always been a topic. And maybe I think like everyone's kind of seeing it a little bit differently now that it's difficult for me to walk by someone's desk and ask a quick question around, a deal that just closed or a qualified opportunity that just happened.
Yeah.
And so it's super important for me to go in and read some notes. And if they're not filled out, then it makes it very difficult, right?
I know. Yeah. We've been talking about that a lot in some of our meetings, where people just need more data, and it's becoming more important. So Salesforce hygiene is what's hot right now.
Salesforce high denim. Get it? Denim is another word for jean. Boom. Oh gosh.
Is that the note we're ending on?
I forgot, because Charlie told us like you've got to have like a proper send off.
That's right.
Like,
Well, thank you so much.
everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. This has been a tremendous use of your time, I have to assume. But thank you so much for doing it. Reva, what are we potentially looking at on our next
Sweet.
episode?
We're just looking at like continuing, like we just want to continue. We don't know what the topic is though, because
Random.
we just don't. And we do put time into preparing, but we don't know what the topic is right now, because we're waiting to hear from our fans.
Exactly. So many adoring fans. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. This has been the Sales Stage with Jimmy and Reva, and we can't wait to see what's on tap for the next episode.
And
Oh
that
God,
is the outro.
that is. We should, Charlie, make a note. recycle that one. That was an unbelievable take. I can't believe that, like, that
Maybe
just happened
Charlie
so
could like
naturally.
roll the credits of like everyone who's involved.